Alright fellas, now Canelo's next fight was just announced and a lot of people aren't happy at all. The fans of course wanted that Benavidez fight. We didn't get that. Then it was rumoured that we were going to get Eubank Jr or William Skull, and to be honest, thank God we didn't get those. So who do we end up with instead? Well, we ended up with 22-0 Edgar Berlanga. You might have seen the significant amount of backlash online. I think this might be the most amount of backlash Canelo's got for an opponent choice in quite some time, with apparent disappointment stemming from the whole boxing world. So I want to answer the question of, is this hate really justified, and what could this fight bring? So let's get right into it. Like it or not, Canelo is an all-time great. Coming off that solid Banga fight, which was also seen as a bit of a cherry pick at the time, it was speculated that going into his next fight we would have seen a genuinely big bout. If you look at Canelo's last few fights, other than fights for money or easier marketable fights, we haven't seen a truly challenging fight since Bivol. Of course, all of the fans wanted Benavidez. The WBC mandatory for a number of years, he really seems like the last challenger in the division. It makes sense that this would be next. Yet like to his last few fights, we've ended up down a different road. I think the debate around if this duck is justified is a bit of a tricky one. Of course, Canelo has done a lot in his career, and some people say this fight is too risky and wouldn't add that much to his legacy. Yet, I think the debate is one that you will have to make a decision on personally, if it's justified or not. Let me know your position down below. Seeing that Canelo has been demanding too much money for this fight, really he outpriced himself out of it. So then where do we turn? One option which was floated was Eubank Jr. Now if you told me after the first Liam Smith fight that within a year and a half we would see him linked with a Canelo fight, I would have hysterically laughed in your face. Yet 18 months later we see that as a reality. This would have been a fight, put simply, that would have been a walkover for Canelo. It would have taken advantage of the deep passion and wallets of the UK fans and would have been a payday for all those involved. Yet Canelo would have had his absolute way with Eubank. Yet the Eubank Jr fight fell through. But don't be surprised if this one crops up again in rumours in the future. Next of course was William Skull. I would be surprised if you have heard of him. I hadn't either. Maybe unless you're a fan of the German boxing scene, the chances of you actually seeing him box are close to zero. He has somehow weaseled his way into becoming a mandatory for Canelo's IBF belt, and the IBF, unlike the WBC, wanted to enforce this. So Canelo is dropping his IBF belt and will no longer be undisputed in this next fight. The Skull fight must have been in serious consideration, as he did fight on Canelo's last undercard. Yet Skull will now fight for Canelo's old belt next. But would a Skull been a challenge? No. Like, just go look at his resume. No chance. With those two options out of the way, really other than the Crawford matchup, which didn't make sense because of his other fight going on, Berlanga seemed like one of the only choices left. Will Berlanga beat any challenge to Canelo? Well, I would say he doesn't present any issues for Canelo at all. He doesn't appear to have the skills to hang in there with a counterpuncher like Canelo, who knows how to set traps and punches with significant power. Berlanga is there for the counter shots. I also think Canelo's powerful rips to the body, especially with Berlanga's guard, could be trouble. Canelo has also of course got that experience, really being in the ring with everyone notable he could have been, except yeah, but anyway, all Berlanga hypothetically has is his size and power, yet I still don't see this being an incredible threat to Canelo. Interestingly, they also decided to schedule this fight on Mexican Independence Day. Now that's not strange for a Canelo fight, yet what is interesting is this will directly compete with the UFC card at the Sphere. This is debatably Canelo's least attractive fight in a number of years, and we're seeing it go against potentially one of the biggest UFC events ever. Do I think it will struggle at the gate? No. The Mexican fans will be out in numbers, yet what will be interesting is how the pay-per-view numbers end up for this night. With the price Canelo commands for any promotion holding one of his fights, it's a huge risk. A huge opportunity to make money, as well as a huge opportunity to gather a large amount of debt. Obviously the money didn't make sense for the Eubank fight, yet someone obviously decided that the projected numbers are enough for the Berlanga fight. This will be incredibly interesting to see and may have consequences moving forwards. Canelo seemingly now likes to outprice himself out of many big fights, yet the ones with the deepest pockets out of all of them are coming calling, and they're calling for that Crawford matchup. Crawford is also another fighter who historically overinflates his own value, and we may see that at play again this weekend, but he wouldn't be demanding as much as Canelo. If this fight makes a ton of money, it proves that Canelo's reputation is worth the high paycheck he demands. If not, it would of course signal the opposite. Going against the UFC will of course be tough, and if this fight doesn't perform well monetarily, it could sway away potential investors who would be worried about making pennies back on the dollars they are investing. In conclusion, I would say Canelo's next fight really isn't a challenge. I think we should be thankful though that it isn't some of the other potential matchups floated, yet from this fight don't expect anything special. This is just another run out for Canelo and will most likely prove to be a complete walkover. The criticism for the most part is justified. It's another unchallenging fight with no impact on his legacy. Although Canelo's legacy is already cemented, and it seems to be more apparent that he knows this and will take whatever fight makes the most money and won't truly challenge him. Though that's just my 2 cents. I want to now hear what you think down below. But if you did enjoy the video, please consider liking or subscribing. It really does help the channel a lot, and I genuinely do appreciate all of you who view the videos and show support. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.